The Secretary-General of NATO has warned Afghanistan's government could collapse following the withdrawal of Allied troops. In April, President Biden announced the end of America's longest war, committing the full withdrawal of all troops by September 11. Our Prime Minister followed that by announcing the withdrawal of Australia's 80 troops. I was joined a short time ago by Sky News Washington correspondent Annelise Nielsen. Annelise, first of all, you attended this briefing with the US Central Command, and the Commander General Kenneth McKenzie indicated that the withdrawal from Afghanistan is now 50% complete.
Kieran, this was a really interesting briefing, and the timing was certainly no coincidence. This is a really important moment in that withdrawal from Afghanistan, not just because we've already seen the Taliban start to take back a number of districts, around 7 that US troops have withdrawn from, but because in the next few weeks we're going to start to see those contractors, and that's around 18,000 people on the ground in Afghanistan, start to withdraw. This commander, who works out of Central Command in Doha, which is the critical place for coordinating US policy in the Middle East, has said that they're concerned about a number of influences that this withdrawal is having, not just internally in Afghanistan, but also the rise of Russia and China in the region, and also some of those smaller extremist groups in the areas that they're using the 20 million displaced people for recruitment. And that's another cause for concern about the potential for violent extremism. But it's become a political topic here in the United States because there's a number of translators being left behind. The estimates are that it's in the thousands, Afghanis who worked with the US government and NATO forces to help with the translation into the local languages. They're being left, in the most part, to fight for their own right to come to the United States. That's causing some political turmoil here. It's actually led to the fairly unusual decision from the Taliban to release a statement, and in that statement they've said that they will ask those translators to show remorse, but they won't be in danger. Of course, that's probably not much comfort for those people who have been working as translators in this time. We've also been speaking to the Defence Minister's office today about the Australian role in this withdrawal. We only have about 80 actual members of the Defence Force in Afghanistan working in support roles for NATO. And so that withdrawal, they've said, just is still on track to meet that September 11 deadline that the US forces are aiming for. And from this briefing today, we understand that they will meet that September 11 deadline regardless of what the political discussion is, although the concern was raised that the negotiations between the Afghani government and the Taliban aren't progressing as much as the US government would like.
At the same time, the NATO Secretary-General met with President Biden, and he had a very blunt warning about the impact of the withdrawal of US and allied troops.
Yeah, Kieran, NATO's been critical in this entire operation in Afghanistan. There's still about 7,000 troops there, so this is why it's so important, their perspective on what's happening. They've raised the same concerns that we heard the security agencies in the United States raise when this withdrawal was announced by the Biden administration to coincide with the 20th anniversary. This is, again, today, Jens Stoltenberg, the chief of NATO, saying that he's concerned about the political void it's going to leave in Afghanistan, and today acknowledging in diplomatic terms, so not quite as forcefully as you might expect, but certainly enough to raise some eyebrows, that this is a dangerous time for Afghanistan.
We have to face the reality that there's, of course, a lot of uncertainty. It's a very difficult situation in Afghanistan, and the decision to leave entails risks. But at the same time, we live in Afghanistan, which is very different than the Afghanistan we went into in 2001. We have built Afghan security forces from almost nothing. We are helped to promote economic and social progress. So at some stage, Afghan had to take full responsibility for their own future, and that's what they're doing, with continued support from NATO allies.
Jens Stoltenberg was hosted by President Joe Biden today when he visited Washington, D.C. Now, of course, Afghanistan was front of mind, but the briefing notes showed that Jens Stoltenberg's long-term focus is very much on China, the risk there, and also cybersecurity focus. And so this is going to be a time of transition, you could say, in the global political sphere, which was likely to happen after Joe Biden came in, but this is going to be a critical few months to watch what's happening in Afghanistan.